Hey y'all, welcome back to the Big Bear Homestead. And no, we're not in the kitchen, but even though all these ingredients look like we're getting ready to bake something, right? Well no, today I'm actually going to teach you how to make Castile soap. Now Castile soap is the base for a lot of things that we use in the house. Dish soap, shampoo, laundry detergent. You can use Castile soap in a lot of different things. So today I'm going to teach you how to make your own Castile soap so that you can also make those things at your house. Let's get started. Okay, so let's talk ingredients. What are you going to need to make Castile soap? So the very first thing you're going to need is your oils. You're going to need coconut oil, which for that you're going to need 16 ounces. For the olive oil, you'll need 24 ounces. You're also going to need 9.35 ounces of potassium hydroxide flakes. Now, pay attention when you're making this soap. This is potassium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is what you use for making hard soap, and it's like 100% pure. This is only like 95% or 90% pure lye, so it allows the soap to be liquid. So when you're going to make your soap, make sure that you grab potassium hydroxide instead. Now, you're also going to need 32 ounces of water to make your lye solution. You'll have to take the flakes and put them in there and dissolve them. You're also going to need 10 to 12 cups of distilled water when it's time to liquefy the paste. Now, other things you're going to need, you'll need a scale to be able to measure all of your stuff, all your weights out. You're going to need a container that you can put all of your oils in to measure the weights out. You're going to need an immersion blender, and you're also going to need a crock pot. And it needs to be at least a 6-quart crock pot so that you can fit all of this stuff in and not make a big, huge mess. You also need some kind of a timer, kitchen timer, watch, whatever, so that you can kind of time this process because it does take a while. And one last thing, let's talk safety. I don't wear goggles. If you feel like you need to wear goggles, go ahead, but you most definitely need to wear some type of protection on your hands, whether it's gloves, nitrile gloves, whatever. You just don't want to get lye solution on your skin. It's not pretty and it doesn't feel good. Okay, so how are we going to take all of this and turn it into soap? The first thing you're going to need to do is measure out your oils. So we're going to go ahead and put our digital scale on here. And I like to always put in the solid oil first, which is the coconut oil, so that it has a chance to melt. Now, this coconut oil melts at like 70-something-ish degrees. So a good portion of it's going to be liquid, but I have a spatula just in case. So for the coconut oil, you're going to need 16 ounces. Now this is weight, okay? Not like measuring in a measuring cup. So it's 16 ounces of weight. All right. 16 ounces right there. All right. And then I'm going to tear that out so it'll register as 0 again. And then you need 24 ounces of the olive oil. Okay, so there's 24 ounces of olive oil. Now we're going to put that into the crock pot, and you want your crock pot heat to be on high. So let's go ahead and pour all that in there. Definitely make sure that you have a spatula to be able to get all of that leftover stuff on the container. I love these food storage containers. They have measurements on them, but they're also really good for me for soap making because I can clean them out and store them. They nest inside each other. They also have lids, so just in case you need to store something in them, you can also, put a lid on it as well. Okay, so that's about as good as that's gonna get. We're just gonna stir that up and let it kind of melt. Now, if you're making this in the fall or winter when your house is a little bit warmer than 70 degrees, or a little bit cooler than 70 degrees, your coconut oil will be solid. In the winter time, I have to literally use like a wooden spoon in order to be able to get it out of the container. We were fortunate that right now it's warm enough that it's kind of melted. Okay, so next we're going to make the lye solution. You're going to need 32 ounces of water. Now this is a measurement, not a weight. So 4 cups of distilled water. You want to make sure that you use distilled water at least for the first batch or two, because some people are on well water, some people are on city water. You don't know what the pH is. With distilled water, you know what the pH is. And distilled water is so cheap, it's not worth scrimping on that, like just to make sure that your consistency is always the same. So we start out with a glass measuring cup of 32 ounces of water. Make sure, this is the point where you go ahead and put on your gloves. Safety first. If you want to, you can also wear long sleeves. That'll also help prevent any splashing or anything of the lye solution up onto your skin. Now, when you're making soap, always be careful. Never pour your water into your lye. Always pour the lye into the water. That's why I've already started with the 32 ounces of water, and we're going to measure the lye based off of the scale now that we've tared it out. So you're going to need 9.35 ounces of lye. Remember, this is the potassium hydroxide, not the sodium hydroxide. I imagine this is going to take this whole bottle, and it might even take my next bottle. Yeah, okay. That's 3.8. Let's get this next bottle. You should start to hear it make a little bit of racket here in a second. Start to get really hot. All right, 3.9. Now, you don't necessarily have to pour it straight out of this. If you want to go ahead and pre-measure your 9.35 and pour it in there, that's perfectly fine. I'm just lazy and skip that step. All right, let's see, 8. $9.35. There we go. All right. So now we're going to mix that up real good and let it dissolve into the water. Now at this point, you should be able to hear it. It's going to start like almost boiling. This is definitely something you want to be super, super careful with. You want to make sure that that completely dissolves into your water before we pour it into our oils. Just kind of gently stir that around. If you want a bigger mixing bowl or whatever, definitely make sure to try and use glass. That's the best container to be able to mix a lye solution in. All right, so now this is all mixed up. I'm going to go ahead and put my spatula in there because it'll go ahead and mix that up. All right, so we're going to go ahead and gently pour that in. Again, be very careful not to splash on yourself. Okay, use a spatula to clear off that last little bit there. And be very careful, don't be shocked. This container right here is hot. That lye is super, super hot. Now, when you're making hard soap, a lot of times you have to wait for the temperature of the lye to come down into your mixture. You don't need to do that with the Castile soap because you're heating all your oils up high too as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mix that all in there together, and we're going to hit it with the stick blender, with the immersion blender. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. We'll bring bring this over here into the middle so that I can reach it. And we're going to hit it with the immersion blender. And now this, you're going to do it until it comes to trace. And that's going to be kind of, and I'll show you in a second, you'll see where the soap kind of just, the liquid will start to drop off of the blender. All right, let's do this. Now, this can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and start mixing this, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like in just a second. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes. Let me show you what it looks like. It's gonna come out and see how it's it looks kind of like cream at this point, almost like a heavy cream. So now what you're going to do is we're going to put the lid on it, and we're gonna set a timer, and the timer is gonna be for 30 minutes, okay? But don't go far from this pot. Every 5 minutes or so, you need to go ahead and hit it again with the immersion blender. Now you'll see as we go through this process, there's gonna come a point where you can't use the immersion blender anymore. So when we get to that, I'll show you. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes since we put the lid on and walked away. Let's see what it looks like now. See if the immersion blender still works. Yeah, not happening. So now you're going to switch over to just a spatula, and you want to kind of stir it around, and then we're going to put the lid back on it and walk away for another 30 minutes. Okay, it's been 3 hours, and I'm pretty sure that this is ready to dilute. Now, what you're looking for is for the paste to be translucent, okay? And the best way to test that is to, there's different ways. One of the ways says to like cook it up, do this, do that. That just takes too much time and effort, in my opinion. So the best thing to do is just take a small portion of it and find something that you have that has writing. And then if you just smear the paste across it, you should be able to read what's on the paper. And in this case, you definitely can. You can see straight through it. So we know for a fact that this is ready to dilute. So now all you're going to do is you're going to add that 10 to 12 cups of the distilled water. And what I'm going to do is my measuring cup only goes to 3.5. So you'll see me do a couple of different batches here. But so just distilled water, add it in, and then we're going to stir it and cook it down. And basically that's going to cook for the next 8 to 12 hours. Now normally when I make this, I'll make it at night so that after those 3 hours are up, I can just let it cook overnight. And then the next morning, it's all diluted and it's ready for me to bottle. Cups. 6 cups. Cups and 10 cups. So this is why you need that 6-quart or higher crock pot. So now all we're going to do is just kind of mix that paste in there, and just if you have a chance to stir it up a little bit, you can. But you don't have to worry about it too much because, like I said, the heat is going to actually cook that paste or melt the paste down into the water, and hopefully we'll have liquid Castile soap in the morning. But basically what will happen after the full, if you go to bed, wake up in the morning, all of your gel will have liquefied. You may have a small layer across the top. And one thing I forgot to tell you, when you're done cooking it and it's time to just let everything melt, turn your heat over to warm instead of the high heat or the low heat. Put it on the warm and let it kind of cook overnight. But what you may have is just a small layer across the top where you have some hardened soap. And you'll be able to see that as I'm putting the liquid into the jug. We have a gallon jug, glass. I really like this jug because it's got an amber color to it, so it doesn't really let the sun in, and the sun doesn't, destroy the Castile soap. We go through this pretty quickly, so I'm really not worried about it, but it's just an added bonus. So here we go. Let's start mixing this stuff, putting it in. All right. Now don't judge me for my funnel. Can't find my funnel, so it's just what you do. All right. And then basically all you're going to do is pour this soap into a funnel, put it in your jug, store it away from a light, preferably not in a hot place, kind of a cool storage place. And this will end up making about a little over a gallon's worth of soap. And that's really all there is to it. So if you liked this video, go ahead and check out this video on how to make your own laundry pods. Thank you for stopping by the Big Bear Homestead. God bless, and have a nice day.